All right, let's do this. So, for those of you who do not know, my name is Jared, and as at the recording of this, I am 23 years, 3 weeks, and 3 days old. Right? So, for those of you who are not good at math, that means that I was born on December the 8th of the year 2000. And seeing that my date of birth coincides with the end of the year, it kind of had me thinking of reflecting on my whole year in general, and it got me thinking of did I learn anything? Are there mistakes that I made that I don't want to make again? So that's why I'm recording this, because I took some time, I reflected on it, and there were 10 lessons that I feel that I could learn going forward that I could use to benefit myself. So hopefully you may find at least one of these lessons insightful or somewhat intelligent. I hope, one person in the 8 billion people, hopefully one of you think so. And that's the reason I'm recording this. So let me get straight into number one. Lesson number one is that consistency is actually key. I used to hear this a lot, and I thought, it was just this cliche thing that everybody says, consistency is key, keep with things long term, and then you can see the results. Yeah, whoa. But it actually is, and I can tell you why. For me personally, I started a lot of new projects and habits this year. A lot was reference to the business. I have a business called WebLearn, where I mentor and coach part-time students to get further qualifications and boost their career and stuff. And the podcast, which is currently called the Student Struggles Podcast. But I did not stick with the things I should have done with both of these projects, both of these things in the long term. I stopped, right? And I stopped because it got hard. It got difficult. It became difficult managing everything else I was doing to continue to do the podcast and other things in my life. And I don't want to admit it, but if it was consistent, I would have been better off. And it had me thinking about the book that I read, Atomic Habits, and where James Clear talks about the valley of disappointment or the valley of deep despair. And I can try to describe it as best as possible for those who listen on the audio. But essentially, when you start something new, a new habit, a new goal that you have in mind, in the beginning, you're not going to be good. So your expectations are a lot higher than what reality actually is, because you suck in the beginning. And you're going to suck for a while until things get good. But the thing is, if you persevere through this time of suckiness, your reality actually exceeds your wildest expectations. The thing is, you do not know how long this valley of disappointment, this valley of deep despair is. And for me, I always wonder, was I 2 months away, or if I had kept going at what I was doing for 2, 3 more months, 4 more months, then I would have had a breakthrough. So looking back, I want to be the sort of person that is able to endure the valley of disappointment and despair, not just with my business or the podcast, but in stuff in general. And I'm going to try to hold myself accountable to keep consistent with the things I know that are going to give me such a good return on my investment. Very good. Lesson number 2. Feelings are not reality. This is the first year that I have probably suffered. I've been afflicted by such negative thoughts. The biggest of those being feelings of being alone and loneliness. But I am not alone or lonely, because I have a ton of people who love and care about me and communicate that on a regular basis. So I was so confused. I got all these people here who definitely love me and care about me, and I'm not alone, but my brain is telling me that I am alone. And have me thinking that even when I'm anxious or when I'm fearful, that doesn't mean that I can't do the stuff. It's just how I feel in the moment. So it's showing me I can act despite I may feel the opposite to what I want to do. So it's showing me that my brain, I don't know if yours does this, but my brain usually over-exaggerates the situation, which stops me from doing the stuff that I should do or that I could do. So from now on, I am taking a gigantic grain of salt with reference to how I am feeling, and I am not going to let my feelings define my actions. Again, for me, I've realized feelings are not reality. Number 3. This one is also cliche, by the way, so heads up. Excuses make today easy and tomorrow hard. Again, same way with the podcast, trying to be consistent. For me, the biggest excuse I usually make is with reference to my sleep. So that when I go to bed and when I wake up, I got other stuff to do. I can't go in my bed at this time. I don't get as much sleep as, I don't usually get a lot of sleep anyway, so it's okay if I go to bed late. So it's like kicking down a can down a hill. But eventually it gets to the bottom of the hill, and then you got to pay the piper. You got to pay the price. And you know what happened? Some days I crashed. I had no energy, and it came out to bite me. And it was not pretty. So it's showing me that even more so, I have to treat excuses like the plague, like if there's COVID, and like run away and like stay away from them, because it is not benefiting me. It's like a drug. It makes you feel good temporarily, but when you come off the high, it's like the worst thing ever. So I am going to be running from the hills away from excuses going forward, because they need to go, because they're not serving me, and more than likely they're not serving you either. So I bunning off of excuses, right? Lesson number 4. We all want to do better, but few of us actually do better. Realizing, another great quote, winners and losers have the same goals. So I was like, okay, so if we all want to succeed, if we all have the same goals, why do a small portion of us actually succeed and are successful, and the majority of us do not? Well, it seems, from my perspective, from my vantage point, again, grain of salt, those persons who actually like get where they want to go, they have systems in place, so it's easier to commit to do the things that they want to do. Well, sorry, the things that they need to do to be successful. We don't always want to do those things, and I'm realizing I have to do that in my life as well. So like, if I want to do more studying and more learning, with reference to things that I need to increase in my job, the podcast, and all that stuff, I need to make it easier to do so. So usually, maybe the space I have should be more tidy than it usually is. If I know that I have to film stuff, it should be easier to just come and sit down and film. So going forward, in here is going to be set up so that I could just sit down and film when I need to film, right? Yay. So I realizing that we kind of the systems in place is what govern persons who are successful, who are winners, and those who are losers just have the goal, but they don't put anything else. They don't set up anything else to help them be successful. I want to try to be more successful, so I'm looking for areas in my life that I can set up systems that are going to help me, propel me to be more successful. Maybe you could try to see if you could do the same, right? Lesson number 5. I have less time than I think. I don't know about you, but I vividly remember the end of the year 2019, which is, 5 years? No, 5 years ago now? No, 4 years ago now, right? And it's crazy because it feels like yesterday and like so far away at the same time, but it's showing me that time is passing a lot quicker than I think, and I have less time. I was even not just on the macro level of a year, but like on a micro level, like just a day. You sleep 6 to 8 hours, you go to work for another 8 hours, like, transportation, eating meals, and like taking rest might be like another 3, right? So now we up to, some quick math, 17. We got 5 hours left. And you know what I realized? My screen time is usually 4 or 5 hours a day. Well, it used to be, is it now? So I just like wasting away my life. Like, so I was like, wow, I need to be better use of my time, because I don't have as much as I think I do. And the amount I do, I just doing stuff that is not serving me. And the time that I did have, I used to waste, and I don't want to do that anymore. Number 6, you don't need a gym. As a person who likes, physical activity and exercising and stuff, since COVID, I have not been in a gym on a regular basis. I think like 85 or 90% of my workouts this year would have been home workouts. And this is coming from a dude who detests with a passion home workouts. But you know what that's showing me? Me thinking that you need to be in the gym to get in good shape shows me that I have this issue with, I need more resources, or I need more support around me to get started to do stuff that I think. And maybe you do too. Going forward, I'm trying to not gonna like overcomplicate things. I'm gonna just get started with what I have. Just make the most of the resources around me and not complain that I don't have X or Y. Because I really could have sat out and said, well, I can't go in the gym, so I ain't working out at all. Nope. So going forward, I gonna make the use of what's around me. Lesson number 7, 80% of what you do is not important. This is the Pareto principle. If you are not familiar, it simply means 20% of the inputs equal 80% of the outputs. An example would be if a business has, let's say, 100 customers, well, 20 of those customers are going to be responsible for 80% of the money that business makes, 80% of the revenue. So what I am trying to do is locate the 20% of what I do in life that is responsible for 80% of like the gains, the good stuff in my life, and double down on that. Because if instead of that business having only 20 clients that are really great, that contribute to 80% of the revenue, what if they had 100 clients that they did? Well, they wouldn't just like double or triple, they would probably quintuple their revenue. So for me, I try to locate the activities that I do that like level me up and just do that and just max that out. Because then my life in general gonna be just like kaboom. Like, the return on investment is gonna be insane. So maybe you could try to identify those activities, those things that you do that have the best return on investment in like leveling up your life in whatever category you're thinking of. Lesson number 8, we all can win. Since I have a business, I used to think that there's only 2 scenarios. Either my clients gain the steal, I losing money, or I making out with, I am more expensive than I should be, and they are losing out. And it's not like that in life at all. It's actually kind of selfish to think that in an exchange, only one person can benefit. So there's always a loser and a winner. It's actually not true. Well, we have a event coming up, a webinar about how to balance work and school. Is going to be on January 13th. More information probably at the end of this episode. But what I had to do, I had to call institutions to kind of sell them on the fact that, well, your business can benefit from your employees being able to balance school better because they get better qualified, they get better at time management. I had to then sell the employees on the fact that would be better for them because they get qualifications which could boost their career and their future earnings. And then I obviously can come out better because if I do a good job on the webinar, some of those persons are going to become students, well, clients, so to speak. So it was a win-win-win. The institution wins, the employees win, and I win. And I was like, wow. So there are instances in life that it doesn't have to be one-dimensional. I take from you or you take from me. We all could just be winning together and having like valuable interactions. And that's what I plan to do, hopefully going forward. We don't just make interactions in business, but like make interactions in life. Speaking of win-win situations, seeing as I am sharing some information and lessons I learned with you, I wanted to see if you could maybe share some lessons with me down below in the comments so we both could benefit from this relationship. Oh, that's all. Good. Thanks. Number 9, you don't need a huge circle. Not that I had a humongous one before, but I definitely like interacting with people. I'm extroverted. I like meeting friends and stuff. But this year taught me that like I really don't need as much support. When I'm talking about support, I don't mean like actually somebody caring about you myself. I mean the amount of people. I don't need 10, 20 people in my corner say, yeah, you got this. I realize I probably need like 1, 2, 3, 4 max. And that the overwhelming disapproval I may get from other people does not matter if I have these 1, 2, or 3 persons in my corner. So maybe going forward for you, you don't need as many people to support you to take the actions or go after the things that you wanted to do as well. So yeah, number 9, you don't need a huge circle. And lastly, number 10, know exactly what you want. I would say I kind of knew what I wanted in some instances. So that, for example, the podcast, Student Struggles podcast, it's just students. They're just talking abroad. There's so many students. You got people who like in elementary school, primary school, secondary school, tertiary, persons who doing like their masters. It was just like students in general. And going back to another analogy from the book Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about like a plane taking off from Florida and going to California. And he talks about the fact that what if that plane was like just a few degrees off to the left? Let me say 2 or 3 degrees. And those who don't math, 2 or 3 degrees is not a lot. Like if you look at it from a certain angle, if you look at it, you probably can't tell that the thing moved at all. But what happens when that plane takes off? Instead of landing in California, it lands in the Gulf of Mexico. So for me, I'm realizing that if I was dialed in on my message from the beginning or what I really, really wanted, I would be better off because I know now that I don't want to serve all students. I want to serve students who are working professionals, who are engaging, who are students part time, because they want further qualifications to advance their career. Now I know I want that like subsection of students, and no, I'm rebranding and like trying to target those persons specifically. So I realizing it doesn't, again, it doesn't have the application in business or this podcast. We take actions, time, and energy toward things. I don't know I do, and I keep saying we, but I know I do put energy into things, and I do not know exactly what I want out of them. So then I may be getting a result that I don't even want at the end. So being certain on where I want to go or where I end up before putting all this energy into it is just gonna save me so much time and energy, and it's gonna be better off for me in the long run. So when I engage in the new projects, new things, I gotta be like absolutely convinced that this is stuff that I want to do, and I would be willing to sacrifice for to get what those end results are. I want you to continue. Hopefully, you have been having a fantabulous day. We want to continue having a fantabulous day. And to all of you part-time students who got balanced work in school, coming up, we're gonna have a exclusive webinar for those persons. We got limited. We can be limited to between, I don't know yet, between 50 and 70 participants. We're doing a webinar on how to balance work in school. We're giving away some free resources. I'm gonna put you on some game how you can help in those situations. If you want to get access, just go to weblearn.com and register as usual. Weblearn.com, WEBLEARNT.com, and you're going to be able to benefit to get the necessary details when that webinar shows up. Thank you for listening. Have an awesome day. Thank you for watching, for being here, wherever you're in, video, audio, don't matter. But have a fantabulous day. Continue to stay awesome, and I can see you in the next episode of whatever this podcast get renamed and rebranded to. I gone. Peace. Oh, sorry. You're supposed to go and check out that video over there.